fundraising strategist, trusted advisor, and professional benefit auctioneer, Dee Kiesow.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you so much. We have a unique branded system where I have taken my 30 years of fundraising and development and nonprofit work and married it with some of the best things that auctioneers do to get money. And believe me, I haven't always raised money so easily. I started in your jobs, in volunteer fundraising, event planning. I had a wedding company for a while. I really didn't like that very much. But what I really love is bringing people together to change the world with community impact. And so in how I actually got started in this was we had founded a nonprofit several years into my fundraising, and we needed to raise money for 1,300 youth to have uniforms. And it was a school that had raised no money in their booster club. And I was told that everything they did didn't raise money. And I thought, well, why do you continue to do that? So we took the booster club and we made it its own freestanding 501c3. I did all the paperwork on doing that because I don't like to pay people to do things if I can figure out how to do them. But it did work. We got the status, and it was amazing. We took over the snack shack and made thousands and thousands of dollars. We had enough extra food at the snack shack to feed the visiting football team, so at the end, we'd make the two football teams shake hands and eat hot dogs together. Isn't that crazy in high school? It worked wonderfully. And in 6 years, we had raised $1 million with gifts in kind and money. So I really wanted to get dads involved because, you know, back in 2008, my running the booster club, it was that woman. So I didn't have enough dads, so I decided that we would have a tequila tasting at somebody's house. And we did. We had this backyard gala. And we had hoped to raise 10,000. We raised 12. And I got so addicted to asking for money in bigger ways, because in 3 hours we could make a lot more money than we could selling little things, right? Like 50 cents on a hot dog or $500 right now. So the next year we raised $54,000. Then I was recruited to come work for a major nonprofit in this area. So I came as a guest to their gala, and it was terrible. I don't want to look at anybody in particular, but it was not the best gala. And they had spent $47,000 to make 33. Does that sound familiar? Has anyone heard of that? You work so hard, and then you just really didn't quite make the money. So I won't get into the conversations I had, but I will say the next year came around, and my professional advisors were saying, you need a professional auctioneer. I'm like, a talking head? I could do that. But I started researching and finding out that there was a lot more than using my radio voice and my former radio and TV training to stand up and be a talking head. There was a lot of science and psychology and timing involved in doing this absolutely perfectly. So I decided to take all my vacation and my savings, and I went to Auctioneer School. It was terrible. Day 3, I was crying. I was crying because it was so incredibly difficult, because I didn't know how to talk like that, and I didn't know what they were all talking about. They're selling real estate and cattle and estates and everything, and I just wanted to raise money. But I did stay. And it was fantastic. Because when I came back, that gala that cost $47,000 to make 33 cost less and made $167,000. The following year, that gala raised $350,000. So I'm going to share with you the marriage of the development director, the major gifts officer, and those practices, how can you marry those into a year-long way of raising money that you maximize it at the gala with an ask? Now, I like the word ask, and I'll tell you why. I'm not anybody that can go to a sporting game and focus on the game. Actually, I can't go anywhere and focus. So I was sitting at a San Jose Earthquakes game one day and bored out of my mind. Not that the game was bad, but there was this beautiful arena that should be used for something besides just soccer. And so I imagined, what if we could take the 3,000 people that the shelter I was working for, and if we could have them come through the arena, and wouldn't that be great? We could have more volunteers, and we could have free parking, and we could get a bigger community involved. So I asked the president of the Quakes, could I borrow the stadium? It's brand new, and people haven't seen it, but could we just borrow it to feed the homeless one day? And he said, let me get back to you. Well, about a month later, we had the date. And instead of the 3,000 people, we started with 2,500 people and we went up to 4,500 people in year 2 with 800 volunteers, media coverage, and a community impact award. So part of this is that I want everybody here to dream the impossible dream. I don't want you to be thinking about raising money to keep your doors open to complete some small project. Like, we just need a little bit of money to do that. No, you need a lot of money to do everything completely differently than you have ever done it before, because you're going to reimagine absolute greatness where you are. What is the most outrageous thing you can imagine for your nonprofit? Then we're going to reverse engineer that and make it happen. I love that everyone said the Quakes are never going to do that. And when they did, I just couldn't believe it, and it was so fun. And I was like, what is the next thing we can reimagine? So we're going to take the scientific approach to raise more money with these proven techniques and systems. And we're going to share the secret of my blueprint now. This isn't for just large groups, so I don't want anyone to think like, oh, 6 figures. One of my clients wasn't able to come today, but she was somebody that I met when they only made $30,000 at their school fundraiser. And they said, well, we can't afford you. Maybe we can hire you another year. And I said, no, that's not an option. You're like so close to my home, and I'm coming no matter what. So at the end of that night, we raised $60,000. The following year, we're at $107,000. Last year, we got to $167,000 with that same school. This is a public school. And their next gala is in March. And I think we're going to get to $200,000. But we create something that we can repeat and scale. We don't reinvent the whole thing immediately. So we alienate our donors when they come and they don't know where they arrived. We don't need to spend more money to make it bigger and better because it's a fundraiser. We monetize everything in the room, and we raise money out of thin air, and I'm going to touch on that today too. Are you still interested? Yeah. Raise your bid cards if you are. There we are. We've got number 228, 225, 234, 25, and 14, 15. They're all so interested. All right, thank you. 200 and 201 in the back of the room. That always wakes you up. So, when I finished that first gala and we raised $167,000, I couldn't sleep all night. Because I've been raising money now for almost 30 years, and I've never raised money like that, and I was questioning myself. Steve knows, we had this conversation. Did I say something illegal? Did I mislead anybody to writing too big of a check? Because this doesn't feel right. I feel like I had done something wrong. It was so good. So let's talk right now. Raise your bid card if you can tell me something you really just don't like about the word gala and the thoughts of something that is coming your way. Yeah, something you, yes, what don't you like?
Getting dressed up.
Getting dressed up. Okay, you don't always have to get dressed up to make money. Good point. Yes?
Asking for money from people.
Asking for money from people. Oh, that's my favorite thing in the world. I can take care of all that for you. Oh my gosh, it's so fun. What else? What would you not like about a gala? When you think you have to plan the next gala, Ken, what is it you don't want? Getting people to come. Oh my gosh. What she said. You know what, that group I just told you about? They had that same problem. And then their tickets went on sale Sunday night at midnight, and guess what? They sold 14 tables. By 9 o'clock the next morning, the first table was sold at 12:08 a.m. I love it when they call and tell me that. I'm like, oh, it's working still. What else? Yes, number 238. Soliciting auction items, yes. And isn't it troublesome when you get that item and nobody wants it? And the guy who donated it's in the room. What else is prickly? Yes?
Getting volunteers.
Getting volunteers. Why would somebody not want to come and sit down and enjoy the event and they want to do all the work? What is wrong with people? Yes. Anything else? 225.
Asking the same generous donors year after year.
Oh my goodness, yes. Asking the same generous donors year after year. How about, can you donate your condo in Cabo? You do it every single year, and we just assumed you would, right? Anything else? How about all of the media and the layout and doing all those invitations? And then you have to do the silent auction, and you have to buy lots of saran wrap and baskets. And then the night before, when you're putting them together, you don't have enough stuff, so you got to go shopping and spend more of your money. Oh my goodness. Steve.
How about checking people in and out and tracking the auction sales and donations with
Right. Check in, check out, auction donations. Oh, we have solutions for that too. I do this because it's so fun. I don't do it because it's hard work. I love this. What else do you really not like? Do you just not even like the word gala? Because when you hear that, you know, it's just like, oh my gosh, not the gala. Well, let's break. Yes, ma'am. Number 230.
Well, it takes away a lot of your staff time if you're the small staff.
Absolutely. So when I was doing that one that we were talking about, I had no notes from the year before. And I was like a one-man band to do the silent auction, the live auction, sell all the tickets. Thank goodness somebody else was doing the money and putting people at tables. But it was an incredible amount of work, and to monetize the time it took away from donors and the work you need to do to keep your nonprofit running, because we all run nonprofits, but you kind of run them on the backs of volunteers to get the real work done, right? That is just the silliest business model. But you're absolutely right. It takes a lot of time, and especially we want to make sure today when you leave that you know how you could spend your time most efficiently to get the biggest return. Do you have a comment, Jill? You could make one up.
Well, I don't know if this is politically correct, but one of the difficulties is also working with a board of directors that's more interested in having a party than a fundraiser.
Oh, thank you so much for that. How many people have to throw that party every year? Absolutely. You can clap if you want, because that's brilliant. When was the last time you went to a party and a fundraiser broke out? Absolutely. We want to plan ahead. This is a fundraiser. And we are going to strategically plan how to have the right people. So that can be real easy for you. We're going to get the right people there. We're going to have them come easily. We're going to make volunteers happy to come because we're not going to run the whole thing on their backs. And we're going to raise money because that's why we have a fundraiser, and you can have a party after the money's raised. You can, drop some balloons or something. We're not taking away anybody's alcohol if that's not your thing. You're not going to think you're someplace else. You're not in a money-shaking machine. But we're going to work about philanthropy because we want to monetize and missionize every minute. Does that resonate with anybody? monetize and missionize a minute. So we're going to go deep dish on the timeline and talk about what are we doing every minute that somebody with a multiple personality profiles that are arriving at our event can joyfully give money every minute. We want income coming in every minute in a joyful way, in a way that meets that personality, and then we want to let them know why they're giving the money. Because to reverse engineer this, we want to imagine our guests leaving Cinnabar after a wonderful event and thinking, I certainly love the San Jose Police Dog Academy. And I feel so good about having donated money because I know exactly where my money goes and the impact it makes. Now, is that a little different thinking than you might have felt at some other fundraisers? I go to a lot of galas, and I go to a lot that I am not working because I just love galas. I like to see what's going on and what are people doing and how are they making money. And so often it's a party, and I don't know where my money's going. And we might have had some really good food. I might have won some silent auction items that I can save for Christmas gifts later in the year. But that was a joke. But we want to have fun, but we want our guests, these are donors that are coming, so we want our guests to know who we are, why they came, and how their impact is making a difference in their community. So we want them driving home joyfully, not, gosh, you know what, we pinned the tail on the donkey and I won that $50. That's not what this is about. It's about giving and being a philanthropist. So, could I have my personalities come on up? And I need one person to be my philanthropist. Who would that be? Fonda, would you come be my philanthropist? Please. Fonda is like one of my dearest friends from college, and I haven't seen her in a long time, and so she's here. Hi, thank you for volunteering at the last minute. I was saving this for somebody who couldn't make it. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are your donors. Now, you want to carefully select your donors because if you aren't careful, you're going to get too many Steves in the room. And Steve is a?
Reveler.
He's a reveler. You sold a bunch of corporate tables and they bought them and they filled them in with a bunch of Steves because they had free tickets and it was a perk for the people in the company, and Steve has absolutely zero interest whatsoever in supporting the charity. He is there to eat and drink as much as he possibly can and distract everybody at the table. It's a party. So, Steve, we love you, but we don't want too much Steve. Then we have Christine. Christine, you are our... What do you love, Christine?
I love raffle tickets. The more the merrier. Bring on the raffle tickets.
Right, and the cheaper the better. 20 for $1, right? Thank you. Then we have our...
competitive bidder.
And what do you like?
I want it all.
That's right. She is going to win the live auction, and she doesn't care what it is, but she wants to be seen with her bid card in the air. And then we have this person.
The cheap guy. Bargain shopper.
He's our bargain shopper. So now it does take all of these personalities, and we're going to get to the philanthropist because that's who we all aspire to be. So let's talk really quickly about this because we're going to weave this into our program. This is our silent auction. You're going to put all that effort into this buying power. And the problem is, if you have too many silent auction items, people think they bid. You know, they sit at the table, and they're going to say, I bid everything up, I did my share, and Mark got it all. How is that philanthropic? You might have taken it up a little bit, but all the people that write their names on those silent auction item numbers aren't the winners. You only get the money out of the top person. So see the wasted energy there, and this took a lot of time to do. This may not be the best way to have a gigantic silent auction gala, right? Thank you, Mark. I'll pick on you more later. You can sit down.
Thank you for being nice.
You're welcome. Now, this is our competitive bidder. And I know a lot of people think, oh no, a live auction. But you know what? You do not need cruises around the world. You can have crazy things as live auction items. My favorite item this year was a wagon my client got from Costco for $50, and they filled it in with donated beer. How much did that cost? It cost nothing because I actually got a gift card for $50 in Costco. How much did I sell that for? How about $5,000? Now, how long did it take me to sell it? I'm at 200 now, 3 now, 400. Would you give me $500? 500 now, 750 now, 70, $1,000. Thank you back there, $1,000. We're up here, 4,500, $5,000. Last call, $5,000. I'm going to tell you that that took me 22 seconds to make $5,000, and who wouldn't want to make that kind of money in 22 seconds? Do I have your attention now? So we don't want a whole night of live auction items because the competitive bidder is only about 10% of your crowd. So we're going to use you and the voice of the auctioneer to have it very exciting on what happens when you start buying everything over value. You have devalued the dollar, and it's not about what you get. It's about what you give, and what we are doing are teaching people to be Fonda, our philanthropist. So you can sit down, and we're going to talk to this gambler over here. How many galas have all kinds of raffles? They do. Do you know that you need to pull a permit to have a raffle? Okay, that's good. You don't need to have a million raffles, and I'm going to tell you one thing about how to make money out of thin air. My favorite raffle of all is the golden paddle. So, would you buy a raffle ticket for $100 to win $3,000 to use in the live auction? How much did that cost for that item? Nothing. How much are you going to make in raffle tickets? You're going to make at least $5,000. And if that's too big, take a zero off. We could sell $5 raffle tickets to make $300. We're going to make it fit for you and your crowd because we can always add zeros year after year. But do you see how we have now, for instance, my competitive bidder over here? Her bid paddle has $3,000 on it, and what am I going to do? Every time I have an item, I have a trip to Las Vegas now. Come on, you have some free money. How about in for $500? She's at $500 now. Would you give $6? I have an opening bidder for everything. Isn't that interesting? Now she really, really wants it, but Ken over here knows she's going to get it for free. Oh, thank you, number 227. So I'm over here, and Marcy's got her bid card up, and we're at $3,000 for the trip. Now, you're not going to let her have it for $3,000. We're $3,500 here. Now, $4,000, thanks for the extra grand, right? Does that make sense, everybody? And then I'm going to come over here and I say, I know your mother didn't raise a quitter. There we are at $4,500, $5,000 there. Is that fun? Is that some people look puzzled? Are we okay? I know it's just, you're going to faint because it's so much money and you can't believe it. Yes?
I just want to make sure I understand. So when they first come in, you ask if they would want to buy a golden paddle for $100.
A raffle ticket to win $3,000 in our live auction.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then you have the raffle first, somebody wins $3,000, and then you have the live auction.
That's right. We're going to have the raffle just before the live auction because that gives me the opportunity to do what, ladies and gentlemen? Last call to get another auction or to buy another opportunity to win that $3,000. Just raise your bid card and we'll get those tickets to you. So I can take 2 minutes to sell 20 more tickets and then do the math on that for that minute. Oh, there's laughing over here. He just can't believe it. So thank you. That's our gambler. We want to make it really meaningful. If you're going to have a raffle, you're not going to give away things for free because we have better ways to use those items. And if I have time, we're going to get into those too. Yes?
Also, I did point out it's not like a check for $3,000. It's $3,000 to use in the live auction.
Oh, very important. This is $3,000 live auction credit only. So use it or it will expire. Now isn't that fun? Isn't that interesting?
This is a great party. I love watching everybody doing their thing. I'm having fun.
Thank you, Steve. That's why we're so glad everybody brought you.
Yeah. Me
So,
too.
so the reason Steve is not the best person to have at the table is this. He is not interested in the charity whatsoever. As a matter of fact, because Mark is so generous and Steve isn't, Mark might be inclined not to be so generous because he's kind and mindful of Steve's feelings. So when I'm asking for who would you give, do I have a hero in the room at $20,000? I did that once and somebody said yes. And they said, don't ask for more than 5 because we never get it. That was my favorite day. So I'm asking for a hero, and you might be conscious of the people at your table. Maybe it's your neighbor, maybe it's somebody you brought that maybe you shouldn't have brought because they didn't have the same heart and head for the charity. So you were thinking ahead of time, sorry Steve, but you're not my first choice when it comes to sitting in the free chair.
Okay.
So thank you for coming. Yeah. Next time, you can buy a raffle ticket next year. Let's thank Steve. Now, Fonda, hello Fonda, how are you? Good. Good, Fonda's our philanthropist. And after we do the raffle and the live auction and the silent auction, everything's closed, we are going to do my favorite thing in the world, and that is ask for money with nothing attached, just heart. And the reason our philanthropist is so important is I know you're a major donor to our charity, and we've talked ahead of time, and I know you're going to raise your bid paddle at the $10,000 level. So when I ask for $10,000, we know ahead that you're going to motivate our crowd. But sometimes our philanthropist will say, don't say anything, but I'd like you to get 10 people to stand at $1,000, and I'll write that $10,000 check to match. Oh, isn't that motivating? That's super motivating. So after that live auction, when we're so high and excited, I want to make everybody a philanthropist. So we're going to talk about something emotional, how the partnership changes lives, and how your generosity makes everybody give at a level, I like to say this, that's meaningful to you. I'm not asking everybody for $100. Everybody doesn't have $100 perhaps. But if I can make my messaging good enough, I might even get $50 out of Steve. Does that make sense? Thank you, philanthropist. Okay, let's hear it for our personalities. Are there any questions about building a timeline and activities for an event fundraiser around the personalities that come to the event? Does that make sense? Is it an aha moment for anybody? Raise your bid cards. Thank you. Thank you. Good. Let's keep learning. There are 3 parts to your event. There's the planning, the beginning. We have the event itself. And then we have after the event. What do you think is the most important part that gets overlooked the most? Yes. Yes. Out of all the events I went to last year, I received 2 thank you cards, handwritten. They're very special. So I wrote a check at the end of the year back to my clients who listened and wrote a thank you note. Unbelievable. Because you are so tired as a development director or whatever your title is, and you're doing this event that by the time you get to the office and you finally come in Tuesday, because Monday you're wiped out, nobody comes in on Monday. You are off onto your year-end ask, where you're going to get 70 to 80% of the money that your charity usually raises all year long, ladies and gentlemen. That usually comes October to December. And there is pressure to keep your numbers up, or whatever else your pressures are, but sometimes that thank you note gets forgotten. So here is my secret for you. Write those notes over the summer. They're all ready to go. And you can follow up with an email afterwards with how well the event did if you aren't able to calculate during the event. I like it when you can calculate during the event when I'm finishing up at the fund a need, the paddle raise, they ask for the money. So I can say we're at $997,000. I only need $3,000 more to make it $1 million. Or whatever that number is. But it's, you know, the rounding up opportunity, the letting one more person be a hero. They won't come back eventually if they don't get thanked. They're really good. They'll follow you for several years, but everybody kind of has a breaking point, so why test it? Keep your donors close. There are thousands of nonprofits in this area, and our job is to find donors. So let them be your close friends and people that you can reach out to that feel like your cousins. Any questions on that? Donor development. We want to build it into your long-term strategy to have your gala be your major ask. Yes, number 229.
You asked, or you said something about writing the notes, thank you notes over the summer.
Mhm.
Are you talking about after the event? I don't know.
No, before the event. Then you have them in a beautiful little box that you can put stamps on, whatever the value is at that point, and you can mail those. And another thing I really like to do is I have boards pick 8 people each the next day and call them and thank them. Unheard of, huh? And everyone's like, oh, what if they answer? I'm like, they don't answer. They're going to know it's you the day after, and they might think you're calling for more money. So it's a wonderful opportunity to leave a 30-second message that sounds something like this. Steve, thank you so much for coming to the gala last night. We are so grateful for you, and we are so excited now to tell you that we raised $437,000, and that is going to change the lives of 200 children. So thank you again. We bless you, we thank you, and we look forward to staying in touch, and have a wonderful weekend. Have you ever gotten that phone call or that message? You haven't? It's huge. Because, yes?
I was going to say, that's also a great way to remove the stigma that's often there for your board members that they're afraid to talk to the donors.
Yes.
It's a feel-good.
It is a feel-good, and it's a wonderful feedback for your board. So I did this recently with a group that had never done that, and they were like, oh, no. And I said, okay, yeah, we're going to practice. We're going to practice, and you're going to do it just like this. And if you keep talking, they'll probably never answer the phone. You'll get through your spiel. You call 8 people. It'll take you 22 minutes, and then you'll feel good. Well, what happened was we did a meetup meeting after the board meeting, after the board calls, and everyone said, what a crazy thing. People answered, and they told us what a wonderful time they had, and they had no idea what all we did. They hadn't paid attention to the missioning before, because we'd put a lot of messaging into it this time. Impact. Questions? It's so fun. Let's see what else I have here. So we have the 3 parts of the gala. So the early parts are your pre-event parts. That's when you call Cinnabar, because let me tell you right now, if you think you're going to rent tables and your volunteers, like we heard back here, your volunteers are going to set up everything, and then they're going to go pick up all the rental stuff, and you're going to take it back, by the way, because you have a truck. Yeah, because you know ahead of time when you're planning this who has a truck. And who has connections to flowers, because you want the biggest, best floral arrangements you've ever seen, because it's all about the centerpiece. No. You'll notice these are low, so everybody can see across them, because when we're talking about bidding and getting your money, I want to be able to look at you straight in the eyes and smile and look at everybody here, because we're using that energy. So we don't need a distraction. It doesn't need to cost a lot of money. And one of my favorite things to do is an auctioning little game to get rid of the centerpiece. You want to guess how that goes, Barbara?
Person with the closest birthday.
Oh no, Barbara, it's much harder than that. Barbara would be our auctioneer. And Barbara and one person at every table needs to stand and sell the centerpiece to somebody else at the table, and you're going to start with $5. And when you sell it to somebody at the table, I'm going to reach in and say, Barbara, who's your winner? And how much did it go for? And everybody's going to hear.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
And I would be embarrassed.
You might be, but then we'd have Merle do it. But that's a great little way to take about 5 minutes and make a couple $1,000s on table centerpieces, and then guess what? Ken doesn't have to take this thing home in his car, all 8 of them with a water in them, and then you're going to have to wash those out and get them back to where they came from or store them for next year. So wouldn't it be better to monetize them? Isn't that fun? Isn't that interesting? Oh, well, thank you very much. There's a lot more where that came from. I have 100 of those. But we don't have time for all of those today. What else at our pre-event? We want to get some underwriting for our event. We want to get some sponsors. We want cash. And if, let me pick on somebody new. Kathy right here. Hello, Kathy. No. Kathy always comes to my gala, but this year she can't come. And what am I going to say? Oh, I'm sorry. See you next year. No, I'm not, Kathy. I am so sorry you're not going to be able to make it this year. I'm wondering if there is an amount of money that you might like to give in your absence that I could use to motivate somebody else to give in the fund of need. Would you like to think what that joyful number would be and maybe get back to me? I know last year you gave around $9,000.
Okay.
You see how you gave an opportunity? You didn't just say, see you later. Have an opportunity to think of a joyful number. Maybe I know you're a big supporter, and maybe this year we could have 10 people stand at the $1,000 level that you would match, and they would have a $2,000 impact. How does that feel? Is that a little different thinking? Great. So, pre-event. Caterer. Don't do this. Don't think you're going to save money and have your friend who has never done a large catering event help you out. I've done 2 that way, and that is my first question is, who's doing the food? Because I will not come to another event where your cousin Hilda thought she wanted to be a caterer and she's going to try it out on your place. And let me tell you why. I had a gala with 200 people. She came with her food. It was a little late. It was a little dry. So she mixed peanut sauce in it. And during the live auction, the fire department came and removed 3 people. So that's not a joke. It's not saving money. It saves nothing, and you could actually hurt somebody. So be very careful when people want to give you free food to eat at your event. It's so nice to know that when we came here today, nobody's going to call me and say, Dee Dee, I got sick at your event. I know. You absolutely won't. This is delicious food. It's wonderful. Professionals set up the tables and did the tablecloths, so you, as these event people and your fundraisers, can focus on what is the most important thing, and that is your donors and your dollars. Donors and dollars. You don't need to have Ken go pick up everything and set it up and clean up, and we'll be done around 2 or 3 in the morning. And by the way, I've done this where I had to mop the kitchen of the church because the grease spilled out of the oven, and all the volunteers were drunk and tired and they all went home. We've all been there. So let your venue, are you okay? Oh, it's your church, I knew it. You look familiar. I cooked all the food that night, too, because they wanted to save money. So we have that nightmare story, and then I have another one where another lady wanted to do chicken, and she wasn't a professional caterer either. And the chicken burnt in the oven because she was doing too many things. So half the people weren't going to get chicken. But instead of cutting it in half, she decided to go to the store, buy more chicken, and we're all going to wait 1 hour and 45 minutes until she gets a second batch done. And now my poor people are drunk, we're running out of wine, and I'm serving wine and opening up bottles. How does that help with fundraising? It's tricky. It's tricky. Because after about 2 glasses of wine, ladies and gentlemen, you're not that generous anymore, especially if you're hungry. So an auctioneer's chant, by the way, Did you notice how kind of excited, a little bit of anxiety you got when I'm talking? That's the same as a glass of wine. So I just go home at night and talk to myself, and then I never have a headache. No, I'm just kidding. But we want to strategically plan. And don't do things that you aren't good at. We're here to raise money and have connections with corporate sponsors, people, donors. So let's do what you do best. Raise money with your donors, cultivate donors, move your mission, and don't waste your time trying to save a few dollars and have too many silent auction items and you're out at the store in the middle of the night. So we're going to get into that in just a minute. The next part is the event itself. Now, if you haven't pre-raised money, it's not coming the night of the event. The night of the event is only as good as the people you have coming and your messaging and your excitement and your ability to ask for money. At this point, too, I am going to say it is not exactly best for the development director or somebody on the board or a friend of a friend to be the person with the microphone, because bad things happen. Hire a professional auctioneer. And that's why I went to school, because my executive director didn't want to hire an auctioneer. He just wanted a male personality from the radio. And it made all the difference. We talked about that. We went from 33 to 167,000. There is an art to this. I practice every day. Most auctioneers do. And I only do charity auctions because I really like to be a spokesperson. And any auctioneer you should hire would be someone you feel really good having them stand and speak for you. Be your spokesperson, and you trust them to say the right things, not embarrass your donors, to have some fun, and raise the most money. So, during the event, asking for the money, having your mission at everybody's eyes and ears so they can give in a joyful way. Post-event thank. Any questions? It's so easy. We should have 30 galas right now. So now I'm going to deep dish a little bit on the timeline. But I want you to open up your booklets and see that in the middle I have created the secret BenEvent project planner. And it looks pretty daunting. But most of this stuff, as professional fundraisers, you will already be doing. It's on here because I want you to think about when you're doing the job you do, how it relates to how you're going to get those donors to give at the gala. Because you'll get the most joyful giving at the gala, and you may not get it on the phone. And you may not get it because you have a hazard and you need some money to fix the church building. You're going to get it here. And so we have workshops that can take you through all of this, or you can just do your event. But these are here so you can be thinking that it is year-long to be dream-making and engineering pathways to your new reality. This is something you can be thinking of all the time. Another year-long projects are donor mapping strategies, understanding the psychology of your donors and where they fit in. Deep dishing on them and understanding what is a joyful hot button for them to give to. Not everybody wants a new playground, but you can find a way to joyfully include all of your donors, because you're going to be communicating with them instead of setting up tables. You'll be communicating, getting to know your donors better. Donor relationship building. Again, donor engagement plans. What are your plans year long? You may have your large event, but what are your thank events and the other events? You can plan your entire year now and create a new reality. So, any questions on this? Just take this home and take a look at it, and just be mindful of the different things you can be doing instead of just planning the party to raise the money, but planning the business strategic plan to be the best nonprofit you can be. And I hear the word best practices all the time, but I'm not even sure what those are, because they should be different for every single nonprofit. And not every nonprofit needs a gala, but you need something that is organic and is meaningful to your donors that allows them to understand what you do and how they can joyfully give. So the timeline of your event, now we are not going to have time to deep dish on everything you need to know about a silent auction and a live auction and how to get all the items for free and the strategies of filling this table here and all of the tables in the room, because we roadmap all of that, but I'm going to really stick to the timeline of the event. So we're going to do a kickoff of the event. Steve, could you tell me what time it is right now?
Right now, it is 20 minutes till 1 o'clock.
20 to 1, all right. I'll keep talking faster. So what happens when your guests come, when they walk in the door? Anybody have ideas what we might want to do when your guests arrive? Yes. Greet them personally. That's a great job for your board of directors. Give them a job. Have them tell the clients who they are, why they're there, and thank them so much for coming. What else? Yes.
Usually have some kind of welcome cocktail.
A welcome cocktail. Yes, just one. Because we're not giving this stuff away. Yes.
Get them checked in and their credit card information.
Absolutely. That's always nice because then we can just use the bid card for the entire event and save time. We don't want them pulling out their cash. Then they start counting. And speaking of counting, when we're messaging, we only want to message emotionally and not with numbers. We're talking about the right side of the brain. This is emotional, it's joyful. Nobody buys all these auction items and gives money because it is the necessary thing to do when we show up at the gala, that we must necessarily get our checkbook out and write a check. It's emotional. It's emotional impact. You're being taken on a journey. You're a solution. You're a partner. And that's why we get the money quickly. If you start flashing all kinds of numbers in your slideshow, that you raise $4 million a year and you help 120 families. I had an event like that. It was terrible because people do the math, even if you can't do math. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. So we want to talk about lives and impact, the journey of the nonprofit, and keeping it emotional and impactful. No numbers. Some numbers, but don't get tactical on this. You're dealing with the wrong side of the brain. Any questions on that? So your posters and your messaging, it's going to be emotional. Eyes and people impact. So we come in, we have a cocktail, we see the messaging, and we have the silent auction and your raffle, if you must. But we do need a raffle because Mark's coming, and we need to get his money somehow. Then I would move into the food pretty quickly. You're going to want to have your, past hors d'oeuvres. A lot of groups do that, but, we have Jill sitting all the way over here. She has no interest in anything but to sit. She's going to be on her phone, and we're going to send hors d'oeuvres over? No. Hors d'oeuvres are all over by the silent auction table, and they don't move. So you have to actually get up and go get them, right? And we're going to have the live auction. We're going to turn the bar off because that is a big, noisy thing. So we'll let people know that I talk really quickly and the bar will open again, or you can go over to the wine pool, and for $50 you can pull a bottle of wine for your whole table and we'll open it up for free. We need to monetize these minutes. The minutes are slipping away. You have the maximum 3 hours and you want to give them a free cocktail, and you're going to have some mingling and some raffles that aren't going to make that much money, and if your silent auction isn't really super smart, it may not. We need to use those minutes wisely because when they leave, they take their wallets with them. And by the way, how many wallets do you think you have in a room of 200? 100. There we go. That's right, because when you come with your husband, you make sure he buys everything, right? So be mindful. You can fill a room with people, but have you filled it with wallets, and wallets that are going to open? So we're going to be, and even after the first year, we can go back and do some strategic analysis. But that's one of the things on our timeline that we want to make sure as this timeline is ticking along, Are we making money and giving people joyful opportunities to give? Any questions on anything so far? You have a timeline that starts ticking when your event kicks off. And you need to have your mission, your messaging in a very emotional way to allow people to give and be a partner in a joyful way. So, welcome income enhancing endeavors, live auction, maybe a video. We want to bring everybody in to know the joyful impact and the work you do, the lives you change, and then we offer them all to be the philanthropist, like our friend in the back of the room, to give joyfully and be part of the journey, the new journey that you've imagined, that you've reversed engineered at this particular event. So we're close to winding up. Steve.
What about entertainment?
Oh, that's a great question. How much money does a juggler make for your event? How about a keynote speaker that costs you $100,000?
Live band.
A live band. So every gala I do that has a live band, when I question how much it costs, they say, well, this is the one party we do every year and our staff love it. They stay late and dance. Well, it might be better just to take them all to lunch on Monday, because you now have extended the timeline at the venue, and the bar is going to close. You're going to pay overtime at the bar, and this is really an expensive party you're throwing. And I don't personally, you can all disagree, I don't personally think it's the best idea to have your donors watching your staff have too much to drink and dance at the end of an event. Just me. So some of these are time and income wasters. Now let's talk about what's on the menu. Did you love what you had today?
Fantastic.
Wonderful. You do not need 2 main dishes. You don't need salmon. You don't need things crusted and, caviar on stuff. Savvy donors don't like that because they think you're wasting their money. So I'm not saying to have the super most humble dinner, but we had a wonderful event here, and the food was delicious. It was prepared thoughtfully. I think everybody had enough. There are many different ways to use a buffet, a sit-down event, a family-style dinner, just depending on your venue and how much money you have to spend. But we want to make sure that the time is used wisely. So sometimes if I have a buffet, I might leave the silent auction open till the last table sits. And then I'll say, now that the last table's sitting, we're going to close table B. And this one item here that is under bid, we're going to leave it open for 1 more minute because it's worth $500 and Steve is stealing it for 2. And that'll usually get you a little more money. But see, we want to monetize that and maximize and keep it fun. Any other questions? How many silent auction items should you have? Oh, I love this. I don't have 1 bid card in the air.
You could have 1 really good one or 200.
Now, that's true. So, Sherry?
I think we usually have around 20.
Okay. So it depends on the number of people in the room. And there's actually a formula. Yes?
I was going to say, it was depending on the number of people in your room.
Right. So if you have 200 people in the room, you have 100 wallets. And about 20 to 25% of those 100 wallets, you can have items. So maybe 20 for 200 people. If you start getting 70, 80, and 90 live auction items, nobody has time to even read what's in the items, and you have really disrespected somebody's small business or whoever donated the gift. And I'm former small business owner. I used to get those calls all the time, and I really knew they just wanted my stuff. Just get us your stuff, because we need to make the next phone call. And so be mindful, because people who own businesses are donors too. And maybe you could showcase them in a meaningful way that Ed over here is thinking, I can see it right now, but maybe Ed owns a roofing company and his son owns a restaurant. And so Ed's Roofing is going to do a dinner for 8 at a restaurant. You're going to promote both companies, and your son is going to donate some of that food and wine. Now see how easy that was? You didn't have to build a basket at all. We leaned on Ed to take care of one of those silent auction items, and if you had 20 people, that would save you a lot of time, a lot of energy, and you can move on again to the timeline inside your nonprofit of cultivating and working with your donors. Yes?
When is the best time during the event to have the live auction?
Great question. When is the best time during the event to have the live auction? I like to have the live auction as soon as possible. When we get people seated and eating, you'll notice we kind of started today's program when you all sat down. Did that keep you from eating and listening? No, because when you're chewing, you're not spending money. So, sorry, Steve, it's true. So if you're eating and your hands are busy, you're not able to engage. So I want to get you eating as quickly as possible. So if we have announcements and things we need to say, let's say that while you're eating and you're quiet, and we can get through those quickly. And then we can start having some fun and asking for the funds. Yeah, definitely early, not when they're way drunk, because that's for a different game we play. You know what? I just want to thank you all for the work you do. It has been a real pleasure. Thank you so much.